It's midday in Freetown. Good afternoon and welcome to the podium. My name is Daphne Zainab Kumar. Our quote for today comes from Henry David Thoreau, and it says, "You cannot dream yourself into a character. You must hammer and forge yourself one." Coming up in this edition of the Podium, Conference of Principals in Sierra Leone is on a regional tour to educate heads of schools on the free education package. As a result of the delay in the implementation of the local content policy, a civil society consortium, Local Content, has been formed, and Media Watch Sierra Leone calls for all public places to be disabled friendly. Well, all these and more coming up, including your text messages, which you can send to 088-373-504. This is the Podium, coming to you live on SNBC Television. Welcome to the Podium. Well, our first issue this afternoon, the Freetown City Council has relaunched Operation Pushback at the Upcombe Roundabout. Operation Pushback is aimed at discouraging street trading within the Freetown Central District. Operation Pushback will go along with the removal of traders from 17 streets within the Central Business District. It could be recalled that this is not the first time the Freetown City Council has launched operations with different code names to decongest the Central Business District, but these moves have not been sustainable. Well, more on the operation we have in the studio the Information, Education and Communications Officer, Freetown City Council, Koma Hassan Kamara. Good afternoon, welcome to the Podium.
Good afternoon, viewers.
A second time Operation Pushback has been launched. Let's talk about the sustainability. Was the first one not effective?
Well, I cannot say per se, but this time around it's with a difference. We already had the collaboration with the Traders Council. That makes it unique, and I believe with the involvement of the traders themselves, I believe the sustainability aspect of it this time is shown. So
let's talk about how will this operation look like?
Well, it's on a two-phase approach. We have the one that is geared towards pushing back. That means streets that are already occupied with traders, like for instance Abacha Street, Sami Abacha Street, can be pushed back off from the streets, the drive, so that can avoid congestion, that can avoid a free flow of traffic, and so that service delivery can be ensured. We have another phase, which is the relocation aspect, where we have certain streets within the municipality for the sake of CBD. That's the central business beautification. We'll be able to relocate them to a particular street, and the street has been identified and now labeled, by line. And the street is sit-up streets.
And before we go to those streets, it's in essence you're saying these operations that you are launching is legalizing street trading.
Well, we cannot say
it is, because if they're being pushed back and they are being relocated to congest other streets, making other streets inaccessible and inconveniencing people who live in those streets, it's you legalizing street trading.
Well,
is that what the Freetown City Council can do?
Looking at it, you cannot avoid. This is their own livelihood, means of livelihood. To trade.
Enhancing one's livelihood does not mean that we should compromise. There are market centers. They are.
Yeah,
that you could expand and make use of.
Okay, we have the intention, the long-term plan of expanding or even adding markets. That's the long-term plan. But for the sake of CBD beautification, we should not be seeing the city looking like, you know, just mixed up.
But it's the same thing.
Congested.
Siptop Street, Frederick Street, they're all within the city.
They are, but that one has been relocated, and I mean that one has been allocated to traders now legally, and we even discourage the even parking of cars or vehicles, so that will be mainly used, because people have moved from the provincial areas.
Parking spaces being provided for.
Of course, even if you want your own personal parking space, you can go to the city council, and that's when they can allocate.
So where's that? Where?
At the Freetown City Council have places where you can pay for, and signboards will be mounted there for you. Right? But in this case now that we are talking about, this operation is really geared towards people having free flow in the main or principal streets of Freetown, businesses going on, you know, without fear, without any kind of like the place is so jammed packed and that kind of thing. We want to see the place being attracted to tourists, attracted to investors, the place having that looks of a capital city, you know what I mean?
With you choking all the streets.
That is not about choking. That is where for now is the intention. It's not like having it there forever. It's just a short time.
So let's come down to these 17 streets.
Okay.
Which are they?
We have Sheikh Stevie Street.
Okay. So
and
there will be no street selling there, or pushback also.
That's ones where you have no street selling.
Okay.
No street trading. The 17 streets I'm talking about.
Okay.
And these are the streets that really we are talking about here in terms of relocation to Sit-Up Street and Frederick Street. And the streets are Sheikh Stevie Street, Standard Street, Lamina Stanko Street, Wellington Street, Walpole Street, Campbell Street, Pademba Road, Side Street, Godry Street, George Street, and Gloucester Street, Charlotte Street, Big and Small Waterloo, St. John, Bathurst, Lightfoot, Bonsi Street, with the exception of Belgium Cellars. We'll leave them there for now. For now, you know. So, and then the final one is Circular Road, taking it from Pademba Road onto Truscott Street. Okay. Those are the streets, the 17 streets you're talking about.
Okay, now that you've mentioned these streets, some might say, I may not have a stall on these streets, but they would devise other methods of selling on the street by carrying their wares on their head, and they would say, I'm just passing. So will that be prohibited also?
The process put in strategy in place, the reinforcement aspect. We already have the traders marshal, and you have the Freetown City Council Metropolis for any defaulters or any possibility as you're talking about here now. It's already in place for any kind of situation like that. And when caught, you're going to pay a fine, not less than 500,000, or you spend 6 months in jail. So those are the strategy put in place in case of any abnormalities, as you're saying now.
Okay. Some time ago, around those streets that you're going to relocate these traders to, people were complaining, like Regent Street, Frederick Street, Sit-Up Street, the residents there, they were complaining. And did you listen to them? Because now it's like you have the cooperation of the traders union, but not the residents. Are they happy about this move?
Well, we cannot say they are.
You should take them into
consideration. But there is no way out. It's about collaborative efforts. It's about understanding.
It's like you're making the traders convenient and discomforting the owners of houses in those places.
That is what I'm saying. No one is. I mean, looking at the plan of the city, you know, it is really now we're trying to see how best we can put up a planning in place. Okay. You know, but these areas. Other places have long time been faced with challenges, and this is just one out of the rest. And when you are faced with two evils, you choose the lesser one. And this time around,
so you're not scared of the owners of houses.
Of course, it's just about mediation. It's about engagement. It's about dialoguing with them to understand. It's not like we really want to see them inconvenienced, but it's about dialoguing. It's about let them understand. So that, I mean, there's no way from now. This is just a short-term plan. Okay. And I believe with time, those people have to be relocated to bigger markets or other places. It's just for a start.
Okay, so will these 2 streets be enough to contain the 17 streets, the people that you're taking out of these streets?
Well, we cannot say it's been enough. It's about how best we can able to salvage the situation as at now. And looking at the streets I've called, if you move by, you'll see few of them having things, you know, petty things on their hands, selling cigarette boxes and matches and lighters and just funny things. That is why we just allocated those 2 streets for a start. And we don't want to see any of them just moving around about, you know, places that should be kept for free flow of traffic for safe and better service delivery. You are in and you see people selling things like that, so they can relocate to that position.
Right. Okay, continue to stay with us. She is the Information, Education and Communications Officer in the Freetown City Council, Koma Hassan Kamara. Well, for another issue this afternoon, the Sierra Leone Local Content Agency Act 2016 is in place to promote the ownership and control of productive sectors in the economy by citizens of Sierra Leone and provide for other related matters. Since 2016, implementation has been a challenge because of gaps in requisite skills for certain jobs locals should gain employment for. It is against this backdrop a civil society consortium on the localization of local content is calling on government to effectively implement the Local Content Act by first building the capacity of Sierra Leoneans with the relevant skills and prevail on international companies to employ qualified Sierra Leoneans to senior positions. The chairman, Civil Society Consortium on the Localization of Local Content, Fode Sise, has joined us in the studio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the podium.
Yeah, good afternoon, sister, and good afternoon to noble listeners.
Now, the formation of this consortium, and you're calling on the government to make sure that this Local Content Act be enacted so that people will have the benefits of local content. Let's talk about your aims and objectives.
Yeah, thank you very much. The first and foremost one, they are gearing to serve as an auxiliary body to support the local content agency, the government through the local content agency, and its allied partners. The MDAs I am talking about, if to name but a few, like you have the NRA, which has a huge responsibility to collect income for the benefit of Sierra Leone. You have the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. You have the Fisheries, the Ministry of Labor. You have Ministry of Agriculture, Education, etc., etc. That is one of our major objectives, to see from the civil society flank how best we'll continue to provide our own support into government-led processes for the benefit of every citizen in this land. Then number 2, to make sure that we complement the efforts of government through the agency in their quest to open up the space for more civic involvement, citizens' involvement and active participation in the process. Remember, if you talk about local content implementation, the only way it would be localized is through the active involvement and participation of the general citizenry. Thereby the people will own the process. And how would that be done? People need to have the basic knowledge and understanding on the provisions and the values that are enshrined within the Act itself. I cannot talk about an issue. I cannot advocate about an issue without having the prerequisite knowledge or the basic understanding about that issue. So therefore, being that the Local Content Act carries the beauty of this nation, whereby your very self seated here, working for this corporation, my very self as a civil society person, those in the private sector, even the government officials themselves would love to make sure that the commitments made by His Excellency during the state opening of Parliament, that his government is vowed and readily willing to make sure that the implementation of the local content policy is really fully enforced. We want to actually dance into that tune, and it is a commitment which us as civil society owe very strongly in our quest to support the pushing forward of the implementation. Then the other area again, to help these MDAs, spread the message of the local content, and whereby also ensuring working very closely with the agency itself to making sure that our capacities are built as CSOs who are the advocates, including the community people, even the government line MDAs. I can challenge you that a lot of the acts that have been passed in this country, the people themselves who are responsible to carry forward those acts, some of them do not have the better understanding about them. And we are also wanted to work very closely with the councils. Because when you talk about the implementation of the local content, thank God my sister is sitting here. It's solely vested and rested in the sole hands of the councils, the local council. We are local people, so therefore if we want to localize something, we work through the councils, together with the traditional leaders, not excluding the religious leaders. Because these messages has to be carried in the mosques and churches, and even within the homes. And like this morning, the discussion we had during the breakfast show was, in this same podium, room, that building the capacities of the people is very key. Because not just talking about employing people or putting people in responsible position who are Sierra Leoneans is the problem. But getting people who have the requisite knowledge, expertise,
and now, Mr. Cisse, let me just come in there. Your focus is mainly on human resource, am I right?
Well, not only the human resource, but it cuts across.
On human resource, that's the question.
Well, not that really. It cuts across. I don't want to agree with you. It's just one among the package.
That's why I said mainly. I'm not saying solely.
Okay, human resource.
Yes. Now most of these companies that we are talking about would want to train these people, send them overseas to get the requisite knowledge on their operations and all. But we know the mentality of some people. They will come back and look for better opportunities elsewhere. So how would you guarantee these people that they are not investing on someone who would go and seek greener pastures elsewhere?
To be very honest enough, is the aspects of the education from the grassroots level. I believe in the rights-based approach. As a seasoned human rights, I worked for Dada Sierra Leone as an executive director. I'm just opportune to take leadership on this particular consortium. When you involve the people down there, okay, they will sell the message. They would even use that as a tool to hold their duty bearers accountable. And the aspect of transparency and accountability is really a serious challenge in this country. In all phases, let us stop to being hypocrite to ourselves. The problems of accountability, the problems of bringing back or holding back the development of this nation is being responsible by all of us as a nation in different ways in terms of our engagement. So therefore, to clean this slate, we need to involve the people. We tell them what ownership means over a process of this nature. Okay. Like when you go to Guinea, one thing, tech-voc education is very important. At the time when Sekou Touré was in power, I was going to Guinea during holiday periods with my father's fishing canoe. I hail from Eliboya Island, a fishing community situated between the borders of Guinea and Sierra Leone in Samu Chiefdom. I used to go to Guinea while Sekou Touré was in power during his tenure of office. He empowered the citizenry with skills. The tech votes, very important.
Well, there are.
If
people, in this country too.
If people want to, think about diversifying their level of thinking when it comes to matter of education to become more empowered with skills and knowledge. That will bring us at the platform of really taking over the internationals. But you know what? Even the space we're talking about, sometimes it's highly
when you say internationals,
the foreign investors I am talking about.
The foreign investors. Yeah. But let's talk about a scenario wherein we'll have this company or even appointments or head of institutions. People will be here in Sierra Leone. They will have the requisite skills and knowledge, but yet still, most people would prefer people from diaspora, even though they are Sierra Leoneans too. So, would you advocate for those two?
Thank you very much. That is the point we are working towards. If people are aware about this, they will hold government squarely accountable to enforce the provisions. All right? Like when you go to Guinea, no foreigner could lead a development aspiration in Guinea. You must be led by a citizen, a Guinean citizen. When you start with the currency, I have been to the African country like very recently before. I've been to Ghana for about 8 times. The last one was on April, after the elections, to take a visa to The Hague. Even if you want to pay the visa fees, the embassy will force you to go for the foreign exchange rate and convert that foreign currency into the local currency. Here is a case in scenario in Sierra Leone. We are sitting looking at people to even conduct payment of houses on rent to be done on foreign currencies. If we challenge ourselves as citizens, no man, yes, dollar has more weight than Sierra Leone, but we value the Leone more than the dollar. So therefore, all our transactions should be done on our local currency. If that is a hard and fast rule that is being carved on the stone, which all of us from our homes, we bring up our children to carry forward the love of Sierra Leone and nothing but Sierra Leone. Take the international interest to be the secondary factor. Honestly speaking, nobody will dictate to us. But we ourselves as Sierra Leoneans, we have to.
So how far have you gone with this?
Well, we in our own small corners, we've been carrying forward the message, engaging the media, and we are also the government. We are working directly with the local content agency, including even the Ministry of Tourism. As I am speaking to you, we have distributed letters to various ministries, including even the Labour Ministry. The one for the local, the NRA, we initially tendered one before the appointment of the new commissioner, because no action has been effected. Yesterday we tendered another letter because we want to support the revenue mobilization MDAs to actually help them in the area of the domestic revenue mobilization. Like us as Dada in Cambia and Poloko district, we set up accountability platforms for Cambia and Poloko district, and even set up platforms on revenue where the outgoing minister was even part of that platform. All right? Sensitizing the people to see the need to raise, to support the revenue drive, both on the local tax and the market use collection, and monitoring closely the activities of the customs exercises at the Balamuya. The last time I revealed a program called SLAP through our intervention to this current NRA commissioner during a program conducted by BAN at Hotel Kambinda. He followed up with that process. Now, when he went to the customs, he discovered that indeed the SLAP was operating. You know what SLAP is? The vehicle that ply the route during that time when the border has already closed down. The monies collected from those vehicles and the passengers on board, be it now whatsoever, goes into the wrong pocket without being reflected into the government coffers. We wanted to curtail, we cannot cut down that, but we want to minimize.
So that's another area.
It's another area of our focus, to support government in the area of revenue mobilization by making the citizenry to embrace the local content. Without finances, we will not be there.
So let's talk about your the effectiveness of this your consortium? Because most times we see civil society coming up with issues and after some time they just die down. So what has been the results of what you do?
The result, first of all, the composition is civil society and media practitioners. We have thorough checks and balances. Unfortunately, we have not been able to send a letter to this very noble institution, but we will do that before the end of the week. We want to bring very good number of players on board, right? The engagement should be open and not to be limited. Now we are trying. This morning I was here. This afternoon again I'm at a validation workshop. I left back and come back. That shows commitment. This is going to be ongoing. But before I leave you, I want to appeal to the government through the Ministry of Education to ensure that the local content practices are cascaded into the curriculum, right from the primary level up to the secondary level. If that is done, when children grow up with that notion, it will definitely be sustained. But not just to be caught at the middle. It should start right from the home to the primary setting, secondary, on to even tertiary. Once we grow up with that knowledge, see, this is our Sierra Leone. We don't have any other where to go, rather Sierra Leone. So therefore, we should all put hands on deck to promote the issues and the development aspirations of our country so that we cannot all the time rely on foreign investors.
Okay, so what if in all of this you working with the local content agency and you find out that some areas of the act has been flouted? What do you have a mandate to bring that out, or to, I don't know, are your responsibilities?
Our responsibilities are to really identify gray areas and work collectively with those duty bearers that are responsible to find amicable solutions to them. We are not police officers per se, we are not military personnel, we are not prosecutors, neither magistrate. We are only there to support government. And where they go wrong, we will respectfully draw their attention with high level of objectivity and independence. We don't compromise at all. We wanted to make sure that we support government in the area of the implementation of the local content, so that Sierra Leoneans would own the process.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fode Sise, the chairman.
Sorry, Fode DMC, I'm very much fussy about my initials.
Mr. Fode Sise, okay. I did not miss out your name. It doesn't mean that I have to call all of your names.
I like the DM.
Mr. Fode Sise, Chairman, Civil Society Consortium on Localization of the Local Content Policy. Well, for another issue this afternoon, Media Watch Sierra Leone is calling for all public places to be disabled friendly. This call came at a time when disabled in the country finds it difficult to access government and all the buildings. Media Watch supported 7 students with disability who went to take the diagnostic exam at the Frabe College. Kalilu Sila is the Deputy Executive Director, Media Watch Sierra Leone, and is here to tell us why the call at this particular time. Good afternoon, Kalilu. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, why are you calling for this? Because we know that the issue of disabled has been ongoing for a long time. Why are you calling on the government for this particular move at this time?
Well, we think that if the government is thinking of an inclusive society, then disabled people are not an exclusion to that inclusion. And if you look at the entire public buildings, you hardly find a building that is very much friendly for people with disability. Take for example the SLBC. It's not disabled friendly. It's an example. You also look at the educational institutions. The government has provided free education for people with disability, and it is by law. But even though the provide that opportunity to people with disability, there is still challenge for people to access, particularly students, to access this building, going for lectures. And we see that it's a violation of the Act, because if you go to subsection 2 of the Act, it says government shall ensure the educational adaptability of educational institution to be disabled friendly, and that is yet to be seen in most public institutions, particularly education, and we see that as a challenge, and that has the tendency to hinder the educational aspect of people with disability.
So far, what has been the response of the authorities that you've spoken to about this your drive?
Well, I think several engagements we have had with them, they will tell you that well, we are trying to make an adjustment, but it's heart-rending, particularly for certain people who cannot access public building to the exclusion of wheelchair. In other words, if you don't have wheelchair, you cannot access that building, and it's heart-rending actually for that particular individual. Take for example this Saturday, the mass communication department conducted an entrance exam for the admission of people who are going to do course in mass communication. Among those students that took the exam, there was a particular student who cannot access the exam hall without the wheelchair, unless his colleague has to carry him to that hall. That alone is also embarrassing. It's inhuman. It's demeaning for that particular individual, because for somebody to format you to go into an exam hall is embarrassing. So we see that the need that authorities concerned to take that seriously and make adjustments. Not only for Abbey College, there are a lot of public buildings.
Yes, Kalilu, that's where we have to consider the Disability Commission, the Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs. Have you engaged them in all this?
On several occasions. We want to say kudos to the current Minister of Social Welfare. When he assumed office, we paid her a visit. When we went there for the first time. His office is inaccessible to some of us, and we brought that to her knowledge, and he had to respond. She had to respond to that. She constructed a ramp. Now that building is now accessible to some of us who cannot use crutch but a wheelchair to go to her office. And for the commission, they have a discretionary power to take individual groups to court to take legal action against them. If you go to section 40 of the Act, section 40 paragraph B, it says the commission may take legal action against people who violate any sections in the Act, and if you fail to make your place disabled friendly, then it's a violation of the Act. So you
cannot stay away from these places because you need to be educated.
Definitely so. In fact, if you talk of an inclusive society, a society that is progressive, then no one is left behind. If you look at Goal 16 of Sustainable Development Goal, it tells you about inclusive society, and that tells you that it's important that we also be considered in society. So on that note, we want authority, much as there is an act which says that you must make your building friendly to us, then you are obliged by law to do that. And if you fail, then we will work with authorities responsible to bring legal action against you.
So how soon would you want to see these places being made disabled friendly? Because we know some might tell you that they do not have the capability as of now to do some of those things. But are they making effort to talk to you that they would consider your call?
Well, that's what they always say.
So for how long? For how long?
That's the question. The question that is very difficult to answer. And currently, I think we are using the carrot approach, meaning engaging them, and because we cannot afford to miss out our course after having got an admission to pursue a 4-year program, and you continue to miss out classes. It will tell on your course. You know, it will make you difficult to complete your course, and because of that, very soon we shall engage the commission to see that appropriate legal remedy be taken against these institutions.
Okay, thank you very much, and continue to stay with us in the program. The program is The Podium, coming to you live on SLBC Television. And also, you can be part of the program and send your messages to 088-373-504. We go for a short break. When we come back, we continue with the program. You are tuned to The Podium, coming to you live on SLBC Television in Freetown. The Center for Entrepreneurship Development will be coming up with the West Africa Yellow Pages for the first time in the sub-region, which is aimed at creating networking between the business people, as well as re-echoing and reinforcing the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme. Alan Tubakumeziga is the president of the Center for Entrepreneurship Development. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you very much.
What is this all about?
Well, the Center for Entrepreneurship Development is no longer a new organization within the jurisdiction of Sierra Leone. But this time around, what we are coming up with is the West African Yellow Pages. The Center for Entrepreneurship Development is partnering together with the West African Yellow Pages to develop trade and networking within the sub-region. I guess we already have Sierra Leone Yellow Pages, but this time around, this is going to be the West African Yellow Pages, where it got across within the sub-region. And one of the opportunities that that will actually benefit from this West African Yellow Pages is, whereas from Sierra Leone, you know the existing businesses in Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Togo, within the sub-region generally. Because all trade informations, businesses, registered businesses will be available in this West African Yellow Pages.
Who uses the Sierra Leone business Yellow Pages? Because we know that it's in existence, but I for one have never seen it. Is it for sale or something?
Well, that's another question. We are actually not the author of brain behind the Sierra Leone Yellow Pages. We are actually in for the West African Yellow Pages, which actually the first publication will be in October, November.
How would it be in circulation?
And the circulation, it will be in all of our embassies around the world, all of the libraries, business centers. Complimentary copies will be free, definitely, in all of our embassies around the world. So at least investors who would like to come to Sierra Leone, from those embassies, they will know the existing businesses and business opportunities in Sierra Leone. And even those who want to go to Nigeria, they will know what are the opportunities in Nigeria as well. And the whole idea behind this one is to actually reinforce the ETLs. We have what we call the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, and it's within the sub-region, but a lot of Sierra Leoneans or a lot of other West African nationals are not actually purview to the opportunities that are in the scheme. And that scheme helps you to actually export your goods, for example, from Sierra Leone to Nigeria without paying any custom duties. As long as these are things you design in Sierra Leone, for example, the local content, as we are talking about the local content policy. If I design my leather hair, my soap, or the products from Sierra Leone, I can take that to Nigeria for sales without paying any custom duties, because the trade liberalization scheme has actually given me that waiver. So according to ECOWAS, that scheme was already signed. So these are some of the opportunities, and in that Yellow Pages we will have a lot of other opportunities for trade investors actually. But actually it's not only for business people, even individual, for example accountant, lawyers, they can actually publish their profiles in those places in the West Africa Yellow Pages.
So to get, let me say, if I have a business like my institution, the SLBC, we want to be included in that Yellow Page, what do we do to?
Actually, actually SLBC is already has already been captured. We already have information.
So what does?
But if you want to go beyond, if you want to go to the extra mile to have an advert, for example, in the West Africa Yellow Pages, is where we'll charge you. But actually,
well, the basis of all of it is advertising,
your business
being on the pages.
Yes, exactly.
So what does it take for someone to be on the pages?
Yeah, you have to contact us. Like we have a jingle already all around the radio stations and televisions and all the rest of it, and even on the newspapers and WhatsApp groups. And you can contact us on our following details as you can find on the card. So these are informations where you'll be able to get us at 16 Jones Street or House Street.
The question is, what does it entail for someone to be there?
Well, we have categories.
No,
the advertisement is actually not free. We have categories of if you want to advertise.
Just to be listed, is it just free?
No, we have categories. We have full page, we have hardcover page, we have quarter pages, and we have contact and logos if you want to advertise all of that. And these are all going for prizes. So
it's you have to pay. That's the basis of it.
Yes, you have to pay.
And also, let's talk about.
But remember, there are other information that you don't have to pay for that. Like
for as long as you have to be on the page, you have to pay. It's not free.
And not all information that you have to pay. For example, like SABC, we don't have to pay, but they've already captured that. Like government institutions, only if you want to send an advert advertising your business, then you have to pay for that. Like addresses for parastatals, government institutions, contact details, and all of those things. That's the essence about Yellow Pages. It's not just to say advert. The whole idea about the Yellow Pages is to have.
I know all of that, but because we know this is a business venture, right?
Yep.
So you have to have
getting profit.
Yes, and also let's talk about now that you're including the whole of the sub-region.
Yeah.
You being in Sierra Leone,
yeah.
How did you get all of those other businesses in other countries?
We have already created a synergy between Sierra Leone and the whole West African region. West African region is just a small small globe community, whereas you can move and reach in Nigeria the same day. We have strategic people in all of. I'm just the managing partner here for the West African Yellow Pages. I'm just a managing partner here, and there is also another managing partner in Nigeria, in Ghana, in the Gambia, and in Liberia, and all of these places. We already have contacts all around these places, so everybody is doing their own part so that we're able to put this data together
and then put it out in one booklet.
And it will not only be on the booklet; it will also be online, so people will have to also go online and have access on the West Africa Yellow Pages.
So to obtain a copy, without buying it, you can go online and get it free.
As long as you have to apply for the code, we will give you a code.
So how do you apply for the code?
No, well, the information will be there. Our website will be there, and you have to just register. You just register. If you register, then you have access. Because we just want to monitor and see how many people are actually going into the Western.
So how soon? Is it already out?
No, it's not yet out.
When
Our
will
British,
it be out?
British publishers are working on it, and because we are still sending information to our British publishers, because the yellow pages will be done in the UK.
So how useful will this be to people?
Well, one of the usefulness is whereas now we are talking about investors to come into our countries within the sub-region. Before investors do come to your country, first and foremost, they will do due diligence on your country. But from the West Africa Yellow Pages, they will know what are the existing businesses, what are the business opportunities in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, and Ghana, who are those good guys. Because remember, our West Africa Yellow Pages will not just register anybody. Okay. You can only be captured in that West Africa Yellow Pages based on your registration. If you are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, then you are part of that book. Okay. Because the reason is because we don't want to just register anyone in that book without that individual being legitimately registered. Because we have fraudsters, we have criminal enterprises all around the place who are not registered, and we don't just want to just capture people into it. Well, we want the Yellow Pages to serve as a booklet of credibility.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Emma. He is the president of the Center for Entrepreneurship Development, Alan Tubako Metzger. And also, I'll go over to you again, Kalilu Sila. You mentioned earlier that you supported these students who were supposed to take the diagnostic test at the Frabe College. How do you gather funds?
Well, way back in June this year, we launched a fundraising campaign, and that campaign was launched by the Honorable Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs. The purpose of that fund is to support our colleagues who are going to university, who cannot afford getting material source to support to continue their education, also providing transportation, and also paying accommodation fees for them. Ever since we launched that fundraising, we target MDAs, because what we are doing is to complement government efforts in the free education scheme. A huge chunk of that fund is coming from the Ministry of Defense, and I want to use this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Defense, particularly the Deputy Minister, the Chief of Defense Staff and his deputy, including senior military personnel at the Ministry of Defense. We also want to thank the Ministry of Social Welfare. She's also contributing, and in fact, she's leading this campaign. But the fund is coming, the donation is coming too slow, and we want to extend this support to other colleges. Think of Timagai, Jala, IPAM. We don't only want to limit ourselves to Fabi College, but because of the fund, and it's coming too slow, so slow. So we want to continue to appeal to the public, particularly those who have made pledge to donate to the fund, to honor that donation, and then we are looking forward to them. We have an open door policy that in terms of transparency and accountability, we want to assure them of that. But this one is really, the initiative is really laudable, because it has a long way to provide support to these students with disability. Because mark you, not only providing school fees is not only a support. It's not that support is not enough to continue your course at tertiary level. Of course, you need, particularly for people with disability, some of them they need to reside on campus, and if they don't have, that means they will find the course very much challenging. And then also some of them might need resource material, and they need finance. So Media Watch want to come in this direction to provide support to the students.
Okay, thank you very much, Khalilu Sila. For your text messages, this one says, congrats to the FCC for this operation. I hope it will yield dividend. The disabled should be encouraged because they are partners in development. I hope this time around this operation will be effective because City Council is good at launching and not implementing. I think the pulling traders from one street to another is going to solve the problem of street trading. Why Sipthorpe Street? The street is so narrow. Will the property owners are not happy for this move? FCC continue to do the right thing. The sky is your limit. No turning back. Hi, the operation pushback is the start. There would never be enough market for traders. It is better to move or trade where you live. The street is for many users. Well, all of the messages go for you.
Well, they have said it all.
And you're happy with
and
them.
I'm happy with the comments. And that signifies cooperation. And it also tells you that people really want change, development, and they really want to see the municipality or the capital city of Sierra Leone have its looks that everyone will be proud of. So I don't have much to add there.
So what would you say to the street owners that say they're not happy for Sipthorpe Street?
I believe I've said it already. We'll continue to dialogue with them. We'll continue to plead with them. We'll continue to, let them understand. This is just for a start. And I believe it's a short-term plan. We'll definitely get there. We would not like to see them there throughout,
So when will these people move to this street?
Like I said, the relocation will start definitely by next week.
You never said that.
We are on sensitization now, so that they need to know. Okay. But the pushback is already in progress. But the relocation will affect by next week. The modalities are put in place.
Okay, thank you very much. Also to you, Mr. Sisel, and finally.
Yeah, my final word is to continue to make the humble appeal on behalf of the consortium to government to meet through the Ministry of Finance for them to actually improve on the allocation of the local content agency. Because without the availability of funds, it will always remain very much challenging to achieve their own objective. Remember, their operation cuts across all the flanks and breadths of Sierra Leone. So therefore, they need to be supported. And to our other civil society colleagues who are not part of this consortium, let us make sure that we incorporate the local content message in our daily operations. Okay. So that we would make sure that come by 3 years, by God's grace, we will see much more improvement.
Thank you very much. And finally to you, Mr. Metzger. I love the part that you said these businesses that have to be on the yellow pages have to be registered with the Corporate Service Commission. Because we know this happened to some mining companies some time ago. Their licenses were taken from them because they register and they do nothing. So how would you ensure that you bring in credible investors to market Sierra Leone?
The CAC, the Corporate Affairs Commission, is headed by somebody that I have credibility in. I trust her. If I say I need list of registered businesses, they will not include list of those that are being blacklisted. Okay. Every registration office around the world, they have provision for blacklist. Those guys who are bad business people. If you're a bad business person, you'll be blacklisted.
Guys,
Definitely, yeah. So in actual fact, when I'm sending out my request to most of these registration offices that need a list of registered businesses, they'll actually have to exclude those guys who are actually not credible business people. I know of the fraudsters all around the country, within the sub-region. I would not like to include them there because at the end of the day, we
falls back on you.
Exactly.
Yes.
The trust about the West Africa Yellow Page, the second edition, people will not have credibility. Oh, you guys provided us wrong guys in the Yellow Pages. And we want to be sure that those guys that will be included there are properly being credited.
Thank you very much. Well, the program has been The Podium. Many thanks to my studio guests. Our quote for today came from Henry David Thoreau, and it said, "You cannot dream yourself into a character. You must hammer and forge yourself one." Well, my producer has been Salmata Ba. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamal. The Podium returns tomorrow with Ask Me Ba. Stay tuned to the SLDC. Goodbye.